Player versus player combat in The Elder Scrolls Online is beginning to reach a critical point of no return. I've never actually really sat down and made a video like this where I discuss my opinions on the state of PvP, but I wanted to say my piece about this because I truly believe that if something is not done over the next year or so, you will see the death of PvP in ESO. Now, just a disclaimer before I get into this video, this is all just my opinion as a player of the game of 5 years and someone who's been involved in PvP for the majority of that time. You don't have to share my opinions, but I do encourage you to listen to this video with an open mind and try to see my perspective. Also, with this video, I do not mean any ill will towards ZeniMax or any of the devs. I'm just simply stating my opinions on the state of PvP in The Elder Scrolls Online. Now, when I say that, in my opinion, you're going to see the death of ESO PvP if something is not done within the next year or so, I think what that is going to actually mean is that there won't be really any good PvP outside of prime time and events. BGQ times, which are already extremely long, are just going to get longer and longer. There will be minimal PvP content creation as well on both Twitch and YouTube. I think there will always be some level of PvP at primetime at ESO, mostly due to like role-playing PvP groups that like to role-play for their factions that typically are on at primetime. But I think that any semblance of PvP outside of that will be gone. In my opinion, the last 2 years of The Elder Scrolls Online in PvP, 2020 and 2021, have been some of the worst in the game's history. There have been wild meta shifts, massive performance problems, tons of new bugs being introduced, and old ones reappearing. To put it mildly, it's been an extremely tumultuous time for the game. But throughout all of this, the worst part, and I think the thing that affects players the most, is the performance. The ability lag, where you find yourself after dying in a PvP fight, throwing your hands up and just saying, I just want the game to work. I just want to be able to fight other players and not feel like I'm fighting the game. Because in The Elder Scrolls Online, when your APM, your actions per minute, how fast you can do things reaches a point, and your Twitch reactions also get quick enough, you notice the ability lag and the missing actions so considerably, and you feel it in your soul when you know that you should be getting abilities to go off at certain times and you're just not getting the actions. This patch alone, I find myself constantly unable to break free with 100% stamina, getting hit mid-dodge roll, my game having a memory leak, ability lag being off the charts, and just being even worse at prime time, not to mention all the bugs associated with my class and the game in general. For just the Magic and Dragon Knight specifically, you have leap not working, not being able to fossilize certain targets, but being able to leap them, so just for some reason the fossilized stun solely doesn't work. Flame Lash having tons of problems associated with it. Rubber banding that occurs after you leap someone, which makes them fly all over your screen. Being unable to fossilize whip or leap someone even if you're technically within range. Engulfing flames and frankly all conals in the game barely work. It's just frankly a mess, and that's just the bugs and issues with my class that I could think of off the top of my head. There's also 5 other classes in the game and just in the game in general, you know? Now, with all of these performance things and stuff that I'm talking about, several content creators have quit because of it. And a lot of the newer ESO PvP content creators who I've seen pop up, because, you know, as old people and veterans leave, new people will always pop in to kind of take the mantle and start creating content. But from what I've noticed, those new creators, I've seen them burn out way quicker than the creators of old because they don't have nearly as much sunk cost in the game as the older creators. So because they have less sunk cost, they tend to burn out a bit quicker. And honestly, from my experience talking to most creators who have left, and I won't name anybody, I'm just gonna say generally from the people I've talked to, most people have left because of performance. And as good as ESO's PvP is, when it works, you know, the asterisk that we all love to say, because when it works, the PvP in this game is absolutely fantastic. But the problem is that people just, they have quit moments when it comes to games. And the way ESO's PvP performance is, it is a death by 1,000 cuts. And no matter how iron your will is, no matter how much you tell yourself you love, you know, the game, over time it's going to wear you down. And I think eventually you're going to say enough is enough. It might take a month, a week, a year, however long it takes. Most people that I know, they reach a point where they're just done and they want to move on to something that functions. Now, a lot of people will say, you know, when I talk about the fact that I want lag to be improved, people, you know, slam their fists on the table and go, the lag should be fixed. You know, I want it to be fixed. And I think saying that it needs to be fixed is unrealistic. You know, I expect to lag in a keep with 250 other people in it. However, I don't expect to lag when that fight is happening on the other side of the map from me and I'm 1v2ing in a resource. I shouldn't lag 1v1ing my friend in his house, and I shouldn't have problems CC breaking when there's literally just 2 of us in a housing instance. I shouldn't have issues in a battleground where there's only 12 people and I'm in an instance. You know, and I know people are going to run to the comments also saying like, but Dots, you know, Rich did talk about on his stream that they're looking to improve performance. They know it's not good. And if I'm just going to be honest about that, guys, you know, that's great and all that he said it, but until it comes from an official ZeniMax channel, they're just words, you know? They're just words. And we've been promised performance improvements over the last couple of years. And if anything, at least the way I feel about the game, it feels like it's gotten worse. And I'm not naive. Maybe, you know, a lot of the performance changes they've done over the last couple of years, you know, maybe they were needed to lay the groundwork to actually improve PvP performance. But in my opinion, they need to say something. You know, we've gotten into this cycle where the PvP player base is begging for any semblance of discussion on PvP performance, and ZeniMax doesn't really seem like they want to address it head on because of how volatile the discussions with the PvP community have gotten. But part of what has made them so volatile is that lack of communication. And from what I've seen recently, any attempts to establish communication about this subject are either ignored or deflected. And I'm not saying that ZeniMax doesn't care. I'm not saying that at all. I'm sure they do. You know, they did all of those Cyrodiil tests not too long ago to try to gather performance data, and stuff like that costs money. But how's the player base supposed to feel when we've gotten basically no updates since then? Now, one thing that ZeniMax has said that I do completely agree with is that they do not want to add new PvP content in the game until performance is improved. I wholeheartedly agree with that position. You cannot build a house on a broken foundation. There's no point in adding new content into the game when what's currently there doesn't even function. You'll just get new content that doesn't function. Now, while I agree with that philosophy, when you compound that with the lack of communication we have received about performance and what feels like a neglect of the PvP side of the game, this has led to a lot of the toxicity and volatility I think we've seen in PvP and the attitudes that the PvP community has towards the game. And we aren't getting new content because performance is bad, but we're getting no improvements to performance or communication about improvements to performance. So it just feels stagnant and goes back to that like kind of volatility cycle that I just discussed of communication. And it's a shame too, because anyone who's played ESO's PvP and has enjoyed it despite the issues can see the massive potential in Battleground, Cyrodiil, and Imperial City. The incentives that they could add to once the performance, when and if it is ever improved in any capacity, you know, housing items, motifs, dyes, titles, mounts, an actual house where there's like, you can have like an arena in the house where when you jump in, anyone that's not in your group is flagged for PvP, could drive tons of player driven events in player created content. You know, there's so much that can be done. Seasonal events that could happen in Cyrodiil to keep things spicy and new. Incentives added to Imperial City to make more people want to go there. New battleground modes and maps to freshen that PvP up with rewards for placing high on the BG leaderboard. There is so much potential that could be done with PvP. So much that could be accomplished and so much fun that could be had. But right now, the opportunity for that is just not being realized, and the potential is just being wasted due to performance being a just wall of an issue. Now, I do expect someone to go to the comments to try to type something along the lines of, why would ZeniMax want to improve PvP? Dots Gaming? It doesn't make them any money. PvP doesn't make them money. Improving PvP won't make money. New content, crown crates, stuff like that, that's what makes them money. And personally, I think that's an extremely shallow argument and doesn't have a lot of substance behind it, because it shows a fundamental lack of understanding of the MMO business model. So MMOs are a game as a service. It's a live game, active all the time, ever updating, ever expanding. And for ZeniMax to make the most money, they want to keep people in their game playing for the long term. That keeps them subscribed to ESO Plus. Most endgame players are going to be subbed to ESO Plus for access to the craft bag. You know, it's going to keep those players, if they're still playing, more opportunities to buy crown crates, buy DLCs, chapters, etc. Now, what's going to accomplish keeping somebody involved in your game outside of the content releases? repeatable content. What repeatable content does ESO have? PvP and PvE. Yes, you have housing achievements, etc., but in terms of end game, it's dungeons, trials, and PvP as the 3 pillars of repeatable content. And if people are not staying in the game and playing that repetitive content and they quit and go play another game, they have now left your marketing pipeline, and now you are not able to advertise new DLCs, new chapters, new crown store items to those people, and you've now lost them. And also, just saying PvP makes no money also shows a lack of creativity of what ZeniMax could create even within the crown store or part of ESO Plus. For example, ZeniMax could easily sell something like siege skins on the crown store to make your trebuchets, ballistas, etc. look really, really cool. They could add some sort of war crate that allows you to more easily stack siege in your bag so that you don't have it clogging up your inventory. They could add the house that I mentioned earlier that people could buy, you know? It would just be an option of something people could purchase related to PvP. There's so much that can be done, but it just isn't being done because performance is bad. And it is the single thing holding the game's PvP back from having its full potential realized. And until it's improved in any capacity, ESO's PvP, in my opinion, is going to continue down the path it has for the last couple of years, dying a slow and painful death until it is eventually on life support with only the minimum amount of players actually running it. In my opinion, this is a very critical time for ESO's PvP. We have reached a crossroads, in my opinion, because I truly believe if something is not done over the next year or two, it's going to be too little too late for the revival of the PvP scene. Because I do think if something is done within the next couple of quarters over 2022, I think the revival of PvP is very much possible. But ZeniMax is running out of time. And the game just in general, to me, feels like it's moving in a direction where it just feels like they're so focused on bringing new players in, but not retaining them when they get to the end game. And the end game just feels like it's being repaired with like duct tape, WD-40, and prayers, you know? And we have reached a point where ESO has to, in my opinion, start to kind of really put their money where their mouth is and really find a way to improve performance or just continue hemorrhaging the end game player base. Because there's such an opportunity right now in the MMO market for a good PvP game. And I've talked about this on my stream, and I feel this from trying out so many different MMOs. You know, people are exploring right now. People have moved on from ESO to New World. When Lost Ark comes out, people are going to be trying that. People are trying different MMOs to try to get a PvP fix from a game that works. And right now, with the market being so wide open, the potential for ESO to grab players is there. But the problem is that if they don't take that opportunity now, I think it's going to be too little too late. Something else is going to grab it, or people are just going to move on to other genres and get their PvP fix from somewhere else. But I just want to say one more thing, guys, before I get to the end of this video. I don't want anyone to think I dislike ESO. If I really didn't like ESO, I wouldn't be making this video. I have made ESO content for a very long time. I like and enjoy the game's PvP so much, but it's just so frustrating to see it not have its potential realized and not be improved. And I just really hope that there is some sort of plan and there is some semblance of urgency at ZeniMax to get PvP improved and try to fix up that side of the game. So we'll see what happens. All we could do is hope for the best, I guess, at this point. But anyway, guys, let me know what you think about the current state of PvP in the comment section below. Please keep it civil. I know this is a very, very tumultuous topic that people have a lot of passion about, but please keep those comments very civil, okay? Nothing toxic, please. If you guys do want to see more ESO as well as other MMORPG content, I do cover a lot of MMOs, and I'm going to be focusing a lot on MMO reviews going into 2022. Feel free to hit the sub button and the bell to keep those notifications on. Also, liking this video will help me out a ton in the YouTube algorithm, so feel free to leave a like on the video if you did like the discussion. But guys, that is going to be it for me today. Appreciate you stopping by and listening to this video. Hope you did enjoy the discussion. As always, I'm Dots Gaming, and I'll see you all next time.